farming is not a transient business. It's not trading. It's not salaula. You know, farming is a long-term business. You know, the amount of land is not increasing. It's finite. So we have to come up with better ways of utilizing the limited land that we have in the most efficient way possible. And this is why organic farming has become very popular.
We are hopeful that farmers, when they adopt this, they will not have a problem even in the future with the soils.
Because the depleted soils, once you start using organic, they will go back, they will gain back the life.
We are encouraging our farmers to do organic. They are not supposed only to wait for synthetic fertilizers.
Kamerere naona kuti mili sinamela bwino maningi mfeteleza wa chane wasopana kuchita fertilizer wakale.
When you apply inorganic fertilizers, the crop will respond faster because we are simply giving the crop what it requires. With the organics, you first feed the soil, and then the soil feed the crop.
And worldwide, I think most of the people now are looking at the organically grown crops.
Yes, farming always requires patience. When it comes to organic manure, normally you won't do well in the first season.
So the purpose of organic fertilizers is twofold. Yeah. Firstly, or at least our organic fertilizer is twofold. Firstly, it is to help the soil to recover. And the way that happens is that the composition of our fertilizer is such that it reduces the fixation in the soils. Now, when the fixation is reduced, then it means that those minerals originally in the fertilizer now also start becoming available to the plant, and that promotes plant growth. And over time, what it should mean is that the quantities of fertilizers which are required will reduce. In addition, the amount of organic matter which is in the soil is also going to increase, and this is also going to help with water retention. One of the things you may not realize is that the reason that we have so much running water after it rains, you usually see a lot of water running on the top of the surfaces, right? That water isn't supposed to do that. Water is supposed to go into the ground, okay? And water retention is very important, but you can't have water retention unless you've got organic matter in the soils. One of the things that we decided to do is that we said, no, first we have to engage the Ministry of Agriculture, right, okay, and so that we can work together with them and they can see the performance of the organic phosphate fertilizer in comparison to D-compound. D-compound is the standard base of fertilizer recommended in Zambia. Yeah, and so at the 24 sites that we have in Eastern, Central, Copperbelt and Southern Province, where we're doing these tests, you know, we'll have the physical evidence to show that the performance of our organic phosphate fertilizer is definitely no worse than D-compound.
The two fields you've seen here, we have a program called FAUZAM, which came on board trying to compare where we apply D and the organic fertilizers. So we have a lima for inorganic and another lima for organic fertilizers. But of course, it's only the difference in basal application. The other side we are using organic, the other side we are using D, but we are applying urea in both. When we started preparing for the demo, we did reaping using the tractor for the whole field. And after reaping, we had to apply the other side D, the other side the organic. Then on the 21st of December 2021, that's when we started applying this maize at a spacing of 90 row space and 25 from station to station. The operations are the same, being a demo where we are comparing the two. whatever we do the other side, even the other side is the same. So land preparation was done, as I mentioned, we did reaping in both. Then in the part of weeding, we engaged some laborers who helped us to weed the same day in both. Then on the part of the chemicals, where we have the organic, we applied the foliate, and it's believed to help in the prevention of infestation. Then where we have the inorganic, we applied a chemical which is called the Bro Hunter. It's also working against the infestation. So all these operations were done the same day, because whenever we had an activity, it was done in both at the same time. Under one lima, we used the one bag. Then that's one bag D. Then under organic, we also used one bag. But for urea, it was also the same one. When it started germinating, when you pass through, you can't tell which one is which. When it started coming up, it was no difference. You couldn't tell. The only people who can know were us who were planting, and we knew which one was where. But as time went by, we noticed that there were some patches in D where you would see it started showing some signs of retardation, especially after the drought. Because before the drought, it was the same. After the drought, we noticed some changes. But the crop stand in general, it's difficult to differentiate. They are almost the same. One of the things we are trying to look at is the resuscitation of the soils. Because we are all aware that where you use D frequently, you end up at one day, if you use it without D, you might not harvest anything. But where you go organic, I'm sure the soil goes back to almost its natural state.
Actually, it has been proven globally that when you use synthetic fertilizers for a long time, you find that the soils starts deteriorating because the soils, of course, because of the synthetic phosphates, they tend to be acidic. So this is a case also here. So what we are trying to do is we are trying now to bring in this fertilizer, which is the organic phosphate fertilizer, to see how it is going to perform, because this is an organic phosphate fertilizer. It's not a synthetic fertilizer. So I want to compare with the other plot there. Yes, because it has got many advantages. This one as compared to the other one. Just to mention a bit, this fertilizer has got a composition of NPKs, just like the D compound. But for this one, you find that the composition that are there is that we have 1.5 nitrogen, then we have got 10.5, which is phosphorus, and the potassium is 2, and sulfur is 5. But the other fertilizer also we have got NPK as well, which of course 10, 20, 20, 10. But now, what we are trying to put across here is that when we use the organic phosphate fertilizer, we know that when you apply it into the soils, it will be able to manage the acidity of the soils. Okay, we don't try the acidity of the soils. Why? Because it has the ability. Okay, it has the ability to loosen or to break down the insoluble phosphates that are formed because of continuous usage of the synthetic D compound.
The research activity that we are undertaking here, as you can see in my background, there's a pigeon pea, there's also cotton. These crops are drought resistant, yeah, and so they are able to withstand drought when there's drought, and so they are also able to withstand a bit of too much water, though not at their infancy, but later when they are grown up. And so what we are doing here basically is that we are looking at three factors. These three factors that we are looking at, the biopesticides and the synthetic pesticides. We are also looking at organic fertilizer and also the synthetic fertilizers. Yeah, and then we also want to look at what are the effects of these products. The synthetic fertilizer has kept on, the price has kept on going up. So we want also to look at the options, okay? The options of fertilizers, which are cheaper, the options of also the crop, which can withstand the adverse weather. You know, pigeon pea can withstand adverse weather. Cotton can also withstand adverse weather. And so we want to look at what is it that is beneficial. As we know, the biofertilizers or organic fertilizers, these they improve the soil, and they also help the quality of the crop as well. And so those organically grown crops are better crops. They are quite healthy crops, and so this is what we are also trying to look at.
These synthetic fertilizers are very expensive. Me, what I can advise farmers to go for organic fertilizers, because when you compare synthetic with the organic fertilizers, the synthetic are very expensive, but for organic, even if that family they are poor, they can manage to do at least a lima.
Land preparation we started in December. Because of the delayed onset of rains, we had to start in December. But even then, after having prepared the land in December, we still had no rains. We only started having some rains in January. And that's the time we organized ourselves to plant. And we had to plant on the 5th of January. We did the planting. And the fertilizers, both organic and the inorganic, were applied the same date at planting. And then we had to plant at 7.5 centimeters deep to also give room for seeds to germinate even if the rains delay. After which we saw germination starting after a week. And after 10 days, which is by the 15th, we did apply the BioAnta on the organic side and the PASP on the conventional side. So the rains generally have not been that good, because in January it was better. We received 200 plus milliliters. In February, when the crops were going to grow faster, we didn't have enough rains. Especially this month, March, we have only received 3 rain days out of the entire number of days, and that goes only up to 30 milliliters. So it has affected. So the growth that we are seeing is as a result of the rains that were a bit more established in January and the part of February. On the organic side as well, I feel it has done much better, because I didn't expect a crop of this stand, because of the type of soils coupled with the poor rain distribution and the temperatures alongside the rains. So I feel all the same that we have done at least something better, because this demo is all about trying to see how effective the BioAnta is going to be on the organic side and the PSP on the conventional side. But as you can see, we don't have much damage from the armyworm. I attest to you that the soil status of the fields in Katete, and not only Katete, and even, for instance, even Chadiza, the soils are not in that state, because they've been used for quite a long time. And starting 2002, that's when we started using too much of the chemical fertilizers, and the soils now have actually in a mood not to give any harvest without the fertilizers. So this is why we are now trying to turn around and actually impart the knowledge into the farmers that they need also to see the other alternatives, because the fertilizers are becoming too expensive for them to afford.
This place also is known to be using synthetic fertilizers. So we've been using synthetic fertilizers ever since 1964. And we've been practicing one type of farming where we've been growing maize. So we think the soils are tempered and they've changed its natural state. The synthetic is doing very well, better than the organic. That's where we come to conclude that the soils have changed its state, because organic manures are known to do better than synthetic fertilizers. Farming always requires patience. When it comes to organic manure, normally you won't do well in the first season, because they need time for them to break down, for them to incorporate with the soil. So normally in the first year, you won't see a good performance of the crop. But the following season, you find that there's an improvement. So farmers should not be discouraged when they see poor results in an organic field. They should just continue. As they go further, you find that there is a lot of improvement in terms of yield. Even the taste of the crops, they taste better than the synthetic ones.
Na sensa conservation tunalipingamo. Inafu tunalipinga pameti na bolo shanga. Tunazofuna tione utikapana fertilizer ya manji ione kabwanji ukaisenzesa na fertilizer ya kali zipale difference kuhusiana kwa bwanji. So nchifukata tunalima ugu fertilizer ya kale na fertilizer ya nyowani. Ya kuona munga vamene vachitika, muona munga fertilizer wa sopano ulibu ino kuchira fertilizer wa ndani wa kale kambaka kuti mumena kambira kuti kale kameledwe. Kameledwe naona kuti milisi namela bwino maningi fertilizer wa chaneli wasopano kuchira fertilizer wa kale. Iyi fertilizer tenti chamani ngapenda kuita kuti tenti yese kuichita bwanje tizipeleka fast izibwera fast mwalimi kuti alimi azichita bwanje akaziyesa tizishanga pa nthawi yabwino ndiponso tizikolola pa nthawi yake. Azileta fast kuli alimi inkale available inkale yopezeka kula alimi noti zinkhala be kutaona.
This is a basal fertilizer. So what we're principally looking for is to make sure that it will promote germination and the initial stages of growth. And we've tried it on various crops. We're going to be going onto the market this coming farming season with the Falzam OPF fertilizer, and also with the BioHunter, the neem-based pesticide and growth promoter, and then also the potassium salt of active phosphorus, which is PSAP, right? Okay. Also, which works against various fungal diseases.